Welcome to the next session of Dr. Plotzker's Mind. My state university has a senior division, which I attend. They also conduct a contest where people submit uh, tape recordings of a few minutes' length on a thought provoking subject, something called machshava in Hebrew. Last year, my submission uh, was selected to represent the university's senior division. I very much enjoyed the luncheon that came with it and the interaction with the other people. Um, no surprise that I decided to enter it again, uh, though my initial draft of submission far exceeded their uh, time and length restraints. They asked primarily what it's like to be regarded as a number, expecting people mostly to resent it, though I only resent it when it's inappropriate. All people, indeed all cells within people, if you like science, have features of uniqueness, but also features of commonality. That is why biopsies can be diagnostic and sampling of people can reveal what different groups think or how many people will respond to a drug being tested in a medical study so that the pilot group can be more widely applied for communal benefit. Sometimes it's um, best to be de identified as long as we understand why and as long as it's appropriate. But far more frequently, we hold the features that identify us as special in very high value. We want to be noticed. Some of us broadcast ourselves on social media, at times as sages, other times as trolls, but always as ourselves. We believe in ourselves, sometimes enough to keep our identity visible, but otherwise, discretion is better and we hide under our surrogate avatars. Sometimes we define ourselves as numbers. We choose to, as we add likes and other emoticons to comments that we read online for other people to keep score. Perhaps my transition from student to physician many years ago best reflects this tension between being looked at interchangeably among thousands, understanding why, yet resenting the inevitable situation enough to push back. The world's very first modern university, founded in Bologna in 1088, started by attracting careerists, much like we have now, who anticipated a prosperous adulthood if they mastered Roman law. College education leading to freedom, fulfillment, and prosperity remains today. A lot of late teens think becoming a doctor is within their grasp, so many that the required curriculum classes of organic chemistry and biology have to be conducted in large auditoriums, at least at my school. Some schools are so large and so oversubscribed in these courses that the students watch them on a screen. The professor processes us through with exams. These being science exams, it's more revealing to write in a blue book than for people to create computerized scoring, yet for fairness, we are de-identified there too, with our names appearing on the blue book in a place where the person scoring our comments cannot see who we are. The grades get tabulated to another number, the GPA, and that becomes our numerical identity. If it's good enough, we move along to MCATs, which do not have blue books. It's all computerized. We show our photo ID, which is the last bastion of our individuality before we answer the questions. It's scored by a computer that has no emotional content to the score that's generated. Eventually, you find out if you're still in the running. If so, then applications go to a dozen places, each school overwhelmed by the number of Dr. Wannabes. We are our scores initially, sent letters of regret if too low, interview invitations if sufficient. Only then does somebody begin to read what people who know us express, which of our personal features they find compelling. So the school weeds us out by numbers, but ultimately selects people as the medical professionals of the next generation. I found it mostly demeaning, though changed in a moment when the offer of admission arrived. To my credit, the people around me thought I was still talented and diligent even when beneath the culling cutoff. As much as I disliked the process, I understood the competitive nature of lots of people wanting a scarce prize, that medical school acceptance. I also came to understand the need to classify people in choices. I may be one of 10,000 applicants, initially a number, but eventually a doctor. As a clinician, every single visit I encounter the reverse approach. An ill person sitting in front of me needs my knowledge, which is always generously offered. But in order to have that knowledge, hundreds or thousands of comparable people who I did not encounter enrolled in studies where their identity was blinded. They were treated not as patients, but as subjects of studies, and their outcomes aggregated and tabulated. Their anonymity became my patient's most important asset. It's easy for the clinician or mentor to medical residents to always think about what makes a person unique. This becomes the basis for treatments. It also becomes the basis for writing letters of recommendation for my trainees. Each one will be an asset to his next destination. It remained my obligation to illustrate why, and perhaps my proudest professional achievement was 100% success in the young doctors I recommended securing an appointment. Each one was a promising professional, never a data point. In the other direction, though, I've become a research subject myself, now that I'm retired from patient care. Both individual and aggregate assessments have their proper place. While being de-identified, or colloquially being a number among many, has its communal benefits, there are a number of breaches where having one's uniqueness disrespected inappropriately creates undesired outcomes, both for the people treated in that brusque manner and for public outcomes. Some of these have already emerged. Trust in institutions, from government to journalism to science, have plummeted. Even worse, perhaps, has not been the recognition of those irate from the experience, but the exploitation in the form of political appeals. or what the game theorists grappling with their iconic prisoner's dilemma would call defection from the common good for personal gain. If the public themes uh, trample me, I'll band with somebody on Twitter dedicating to taking that pound of flesh from them who done me wrong. And those people, not just in America but globally, elect some of them to positions of authority, all to affirm that somebody cares about them when nobody else does. My pre-med curriculum replaced kindness of the rest of the university experience with expediency. Now, 50 years later, we seem to expand the efficiency at great public and personal sacrifice.